So I wanted to show you a solution that we have created from SAP and MSG, which is called PaPM Sustainability. And the idea with this tool is to present a holistic and steering reporting solution that will help companies achieve their targets in sustainability. So first, I know Maris has mentioned this, but I just wanted to bring you back a little bit to the times we are facing right now. So as we know, there are a lot of regulations coming in Europe and also in general in the world, but there are also frameworks and initiatives that are very en vogue right now. And we know that a lot of companies are requesting us to present information, maybe some suppliers, but maybe investors want us to create reporting specifically for them. So we know there is a world of different reportings out there that are asking for this information in different ways, different units, etc. So we need to adapt our information for that reporting, and that is constant, time implemented. So of course, I just wanted to briefly mention some of the big ones that are coming. So for example, in the regulatory framework, we know that there are national laws coming, the EU regulations such as CSRD, which is coming in 2024, and other directives, also the EU taxonomy, which we know it's knocking on our door. We have already 2 objectives published, but we know that the others are going to be published in 2023. And there are also voluntary standards, such as CDP, the Carbon Disclosure Project, GRI, CDSB, etc. So we have many different types of frameworks and initiatives that are requesting information in terms of sustainability in many different ways. We also know there are other business initiatives such as WEF and other sustainability ratings, which constantly give us different directives in order for us to gather the information. Now, the approach we have to these types of reporting from our solution is a circular approach. So first, what we do is identify the scope. We identify the boundaries, we identify the information that we will want to include in our reporting and the information that we want to manage, of course. Now, once we have done that, then we have to start collecting and calculating in order for us to measure. Of course, in order for us to then go to where we want to go, we first need to know where we're at. And in order for us to do that, well, we need to measure where we are at. After that, we can assess. So once we have measured, we can assess how we're performing with regards to our future targets. For example, maybe we want to reach net zero, or maybe we want to reach climate neutrality. So of course, we need to know specifically where we're standing regarding that. And then we need to act. So in order for us to reach that, we need to implement initiatives that are going to give us the results and that are going to take us there. And once we've done that, we need to communicate it. We need to let our stakeholders know what we're doing in order for us to place ourselves and position ourselves with regards to the competition, but also with regards to our suppliers or clients. So as we know and we can see, this is a circular approach. This is not something linear that we do once a year and that's it, that we're fine. No, we need to have a constant approach of this. And this is why we approach it as a circular, because it is constantly changing and it's constantly adding new KPIs or new controls. So what we do in the solution that I'm going to present you in a few minutes is we try to complement and approach all of it. So what we try to do is go into the input data, find that information that we're going to provide. We want to calculate it, and then we want to report it. And in this tool, we can do that. How we do that? So first, I'm going to show you where we take that information from. What we have on the left is the data sources, where we are getting that information. So maybe we have our finance information in SAP, we have maybe success factors for the HR information already established. So we can obtain the information for this tool from there. We can also get it from non-SAP data sources, such as Excel files, which is usually what is used to calculate, for example, carbon emissions, and other databases. And in addition, if in the future we want to increase our approach or our measurement, we can implement SAP sustainability applications, such as product footprint management, product compliance, etc. Now, once we have found where we have that information, those data sources, we will bring the input data into the tool in order for us to collect and enhance that source data, calculate the performance, the environmental performance, the social performance, and the governance performance. And once we have done that, then we can evaluate and we can assess how we're doing according to our baseline or our targets. We can also, besides from that, start doing the holistic reporting. And we can also find a what-if simulation where we will find maybe what would happen if we implement in the future this initiative. What would be the results? So we would have that integrated also in the solution. And we can also report to different initiatives and standards. What I wanted to show you is that we have created now some predefined content for some of the most common sustainability types of reporting. So for example, we have corporate sustainability ESG reporting, which has already integrated the GRI standards, the SDG standards. We have also some predefined content for the TCFD, and EU taxonomy assessment. This one is constantly evolving because, as we know, we have not received the final information yet. So it will be constantly be developed. And we have the value chain sustainability management, the product carbon footprint, and the sustainability data frontend. So these are some of the predefined content that we have. But it is important to mention that the tool is quite flexible, so it can adapt to your different necessities. Maybe you are reporting to a specific standard that is within your country, or maybe you want to report something specific for a supply that is outside of your boundaries. Now, I also wanted to mention that this tool is adaptable to different users. We know that sustainability information is constantly changing, and we need different people to provide information to that, for that reporting, for example. So we know that each of these users might have different needs and might have different necessities, of course, with regards to our solution. So what we have created is also a space where you can identify which user will be doing what. So maybe you just want one user to review and to assess the information you are having, but maybe you want someone to be contributing that information. And maybe you also want someone to review that information before it goes to the final hands. So we have adapted this tool so that it also gives response to the different needs of the users. And we also need the IT manager, of course, in order for us to get that information outside of our system. Now, this would be a flow. I will show you in more detail now with the tool, but this would be a normal flow. So you have someone that is reviewing the information, but then you have someone that is creating the process to gather that information, and then you have someone else who is bringing the information into your Excel files or models, etc. So we have different people involved in different steps of this sustainability reporting, of course. I will jump into the tool as of now, but I just wanted to give a clear idea of what SAP PaPM sustainability is. So it is the ultimate sustainability accounting system in the market. It is optimal bridge between unification and management of the financial and sustainability reporting. And this is why, because PaPM was born for the finance information. But when we created it and we analyzed the type of information that you receive and the type of needs that you have when you are managing the financial information, we found out that it's quite similar to the sustainability information. What? You need the data sources, you need to obtain that information, you also need to calculate and control that information, and you also need to review it and maybe audit. So this was kind of a similar approach, so we found out that PaPM could respond to that too. It has high flexibility and extensibility and alignment to the latest sustainability trends, and it has insight, it gives us insight to future scenarios with simulation and forecast data. Now let's jump in the tool. I want to give a quick demo. So first, I'm going to tell you what we're seeing here. What we're going to see throughout this demo is the same solution. But what we're going to show are the different phases that that solution has. And of course, those different phases give response to different users. The first one I want to show you is the dashboard, where we have all the results, all the reporting that then we can use to analyze, review, or even to share with other stakeholders. So what I'm going to show you here is an example we have created based on a fictional company. This is Sunshine Company. And what we will see is the different information that that company has gathered and calculated. So what we can have here are different types of KPIs that we have identified that might be important for the company and for the decision makers in order for them to analyze how the company is performing in terms of sustainability. And we have different spaces where we can add some specific paragraphs about our strategy to give some context, or maybe we have some space where we can place our targets in order for us to compare exactly how we are performing. What is important here to mention is that one of the advantages of PAPM is that you have the most updated information. You have the latest information so that you can make decisions as you can. And this is because we want to try to automatize as much as we can this connection to our data sources. But I want to give you an example of an environmental KPI so that you can see how the analysis would go through. What we have here on the top, for example, in this KPI about energy, is our ambitions, our targets, so that we know what we are comparing to. On the right, we can place the different frameworks or standards that we want to use in order for us to identify what we are seeing here. For example, like here we have GRI standards and the UN SDGs. But then we can also specifically analyze how each KPI is performing. What it is interesting here is that you can go into as much detail as you need. So for example, first, in this KPI on the left, we have energy consumption by source of energy. And we want to know specifically what types of energy we are consuming. Now, we have set, let's imagine, a specific target to increase the consumption of renewable energy. What we would be doing is then reviewing how the specific energy consumption is behaving. So we would click here, and in this case, we have a more granular analysis which is divided by countries. But this can be adapted, of course, to different cities, or maybe you have different processes. So what you're seeing here is a more specific granular analysis that you're telling the tool to show. So this can be adapted to your needs. But what we can see here, let's imagine that we are a Sunshine Corporation and we want to know specifically which countries are not performing as we expect them to do in terms of renewable energy consumption. What we can see here on the right is that Brazil is the one that is consuming the less amount of renewable energy. So let's take a closer look of why that might be happening. And we click again. And what we see now is the different consumption per business unit. In this case, we have sales, we have IT, we have customer services and marketing. And we now can see in a more detailed way which one is not performing as we expect them to do. So we can take action. It's easier for us to make that. This part of the tool, it's mostly focused for decision makers, no? So for the people that are going to be reviewing that information and make the decisions in order for them to achieve their targets. So this is quite just an overview, an overview of the results that we have calculated behind the scenes. And I will soon show you how that is integrated in the tool. I just want to quickly show you how this can also be modified from the reviewer point of view. So let's imagine that this donut is not working for me. So I can go here, and I can select pie. I would just apply. That would be modified, but I also want to change maybe the measures, maybe the dimensions. So I know that the information has already been provided, so here I can modify the way I'm analyzing in order for me to get the clearest picture I can. So this would be an example. Now I also wanted to show you another KPI, which is very common, and it's one of the most important ones in terms of environmental KPIs in the companies, and that would be the GHG emissions. So as we previously mentioned, we have some predefined content in order for us to gather the Scope 3 emissions. In this case, what we have is the overview of a corporate carbon footprint, but we can take a look, and sorry for this, I think it's because my screen is too small. When you have a bigger screen, it's easier to see, but I can also open it here to have a closer look. So what we can see here is how our GHG is performing right now. So what we would have is a clear picture of right now where we are at in terms of our GHG emissions. As you can see on the below, we have scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, and we have different types of analysis. We have the current value, which is how we are performing until this day. We have the baseline value. Usually we set the baseline value to which we want to compare in the future. So for example, maybe you have set 2019 as your baseline value. And then we have also the targeted value, the one we want to achieve. In this case, we know that we are performing okay, and we want to see specifically per country how that's happening in scope 3. We would also get a closer look on how scope 3 is performing and where we need to maybe invest a little bit more or set some initiatives in order for us to reach our targets. And then on the right, this is a different type of graph. I think Maris already showed you. So this is where you see how the flow of your emissions is going. So you have your object type, your country region, your business unit, and you know how your different scopes are being allocated to those specific sets that we have identified. I just want to quickly mention that we also have here, for example, social KPIs. So for example, if you have success factors in your company, those KPIs, as long as you update the information in success factors, that information would be obtained from PAPM and it would be updated. So the information you would be analyzing here is the latest information that you would have. Now on the top, we can see different tabs where we have predefined content for different topics. As mentioned, we have the predefined topic for EU taxonomy, TCFD, value chain sustainability, but we also have a simulation. And before I show you the simulation, I just want to show you how easy it is to handle this part of the tool, this dashboard. So for example, I want to send this specific view to my manager, and I want him to review one specific KPI because I'm interested in him identifying how that KPI is performing. So I'm just going to tell him, okay, look at this tab that I called report 1. And I want to create it easily. So what I want to do is, for example, maybe I add something pretty, an image, and maybe I want to add a transparent table so that I can integrate the information I want. So for example, I want to follow how our GHG emissions are behaving right now, and I just want him to focus on this. So what I would do is, select, drag, and drop. Uy. There it is. It's weird not being with a mouse outside, sorry for that. But here, you drag and drop that information here, and you can see the latest information, and you will tell your manager only to do that information. So as you can see, it's quite easy. You can drag and drop as many as you need. You can also add some text, etc. So this is about the editing part. But I want to show you how the carbon footprint simulation works. So here we have some examples of simulation. This has been done because we created some parameters that we want to analyze. Now, in this specific example that I'm going to show you, what we have here is the baseline scenario, and then we're going to tell the tool to recalculate all of the information with a specific parameter. What I mean by parameter is a specific initiative in this case. So let's try again. No, just kidding. Okay, so what we have here is, for example, on the left, the baseline scenario. This is what we are comparing to our what-if scenario. And I'm going to tell the tool to calculate what would happen in my emissions if I increase by 5% the energy efficiency in my company. So I would apply it, and then I would go to Tools, Simulate, and I'm telling the computer to simulate. As you can see here, it has increased, but only because the scale has been reduced. So now we are comparing 25K to 20K, okay? And what we are gonna here analyze is what would happen, for example, to my scope 2 if I increase by 5% my energy efficiency. So we have 19.9 in the baseline scenario, and now we can see that if we increase by 5% of our energy efficiency, our scope 2 emissions would go down to 18.9. So this is quite simple for us to then understand what would be the impact of a specific initiative that we have in mind. Of course, this is one example that we have, but once we start with a project, we try to identify what would be your necessities. Maybe for you, GHG emissions are not that important. Maybe for you, quality is the biggest KPI you have. So we would work with a parameter that works and gives you answers on that. Now, I'm going to close the report or the dashboard part. I don't know if you have any questions about till here. If not, I will jump into the processing part where all the orchestration happens. Is that okay? Okay. Now let's jump into the process part. Now here is where the orchestration happens. The orchestration, what we mean by that is where we are identifying who are going to be the people that are going to be in charge of creating some processes, of gathering information, who are going to be the people that are going to be in charge of contributing information, putting information into the system, and also maybe in some cases, for example, we have internal audits and we need someone to review that information that has been implemented in the tool. So what we would have here are the processes where we create the requests to the different users to put that information in. Let's imagine I'm an administrator and I am in charge of creating the processes. I will be having 3 different processes. In this case, let's imagine that I want to gather information for Riga, then for Vilnius, and then for Tallinn too. So I would create a specific process to gather information from these different sites independently. Each of these processes act independently. So let's imagine that for Riga, I want to ask the information next month. But for Vilnius, no, I think in September would be fine. And then for Tallinn, December is the perfect way. So what I would be doing is creating the process here, and I would be requesting the information for that specific people that belong to this process. So the contributors of this specific process would be the people in Tallinn that would be providing me that information. Once I create this process, I would go here. Here it is deployed because it has been already been done, but I would select here deployed, and once I've done that, what would happen? It would send an email notification to all the people that need to contribute information into the tool. So let's imagine there are different plans within Tallinn, and I've sent the information to the different plans managers to input that information into the tool. What they would receive is an email such as this, where they would get a link, they would jump into the link, and they would go into the tool. And what they would be seeing is specifically the information they need to provide, not the others. Only open the information that they need to provide. So they would go here, select, show, and upload the information. Once they've done that, they will go here, select complete if it's the process is done, or the complete once they've done it. And once that happens, either we have 2 ways. Once, if the process does not need review, then that information would be complete and closed. And if the process needs review, what would happen is the reviewer, who we have identified too, will receive another email telling me, hey, Mariana has uploaded that information. Could you please review it? Yes. I would go into the link, I would go into the information, review that everything's okay, and once that's done, I would approve it here. And that information would be closed. Do you want to see how the information is uploaded as an example? Okay. So let's imagine I received a specific email. Mariana went into the system. She sees that she needs to update information here in update facilities consumption. So I would click on here, and then I would go to show, and I would get this tab. Now, once I see this, maybe I just need to add a specific data. So I would go here, modify it, close it, and complete. But maybe I need to upload the full amount of data that we're seeing here. So what I would be doing, which is much simpler usually for the people that are not gonna be that involved with the tool, is just download the information into an Excel file. I would get an Excel like this. And what I would be having here is the Excel with the same fields that I'm requesting. So what I would be seeing here is all the information. I would just copy paste it here. Now that I've done it, I will save it and upload it, import it into the tool. And that information would be imported here. Once I've done that, I complete the task, and that would be it. It is also important to mention that we have a login where you are identifying who made which changes, where, at what time. So you can also track down maybe where that information might be missing, or you saw someone that updated information that was not clear, etc. So it's easier to control all the overview you have here. It's not to blame anyone, it's just to save some mistakes that could happen in the future, of course. And now lastly, I just wanted to show you the modeling side. So everything we're seeing here is the orchestration and the reports come from the modeling side where the magic happens, we call it like that. So this is where the calculations are being done. So what we have here, and I don't want to go into too much detail, just to show you like a big picture. We have here on the left the input data, the information that either we're bringing from SAP applications that we have, or either we're bringing it from an Excel file that we have uploaded, etc. And we would put all the information here into different fields that can be created here or in the infrastructure. But what we have here is all the information that we're going to use to then calculate and process in order for us to then see the final KPIs. And what we have here, I'm just going to open quickly, are different tables containing different information. Once we upload that information into the tool, we can tell the tool, the solution to, okay, use this information here from this table and from this table to calculate the GHG emissions. So what we would have in the processing part, which is in the middle, is all that gathering of information, mapping, and also allocations, calculations, etc. that we might need. And once we've done that, then we can tell the solution, okay, so these are the results I want to be showing in the dashboard. So you would go here and with query, select the specific information that you want to be showing in the dashboard. And you will have here the overview of all the results of your calculations. So I just want to quickly show you how that looks. So here we have different functionalities and different calculations, but it's quite easy to follow back what is happening where. So it's easier for us to also understand what processes are being done. And we also have a space where we can leave some clear information of what is happening specifically here. And we can go here and we would have a description so that the next person that comes into the system identifies that a specific need in this specific step. So it's something that should be maintained over time. And it's something that it's easier to then just modify and update once we want to add something else. And just quickly to finish, I just wanted to show you also that once we've done all these calculations, integrated all the information, maybe we want to share with different stakeholders. And it could be as simple as just creating here in the tools, export as PDF. You will receive a PDF such as this. And you can send it to as many stakeholders as you need. So there are different ways of now engaging with different people that we want them to be involved in the process of our sustainability management.